Hi, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, I'm with Sony Pictures, VP Production and Studio Affairs, and my second job is board chair of the chamber. Just kidding, Colin, not really. Which I enjoy immensely. So this is the second in our series of sponsored by our Women in Business Council. Very excited to have these three ladies with us today. So let me introduce the three of you, and then I would love to start, and I'll kind of, call you each out, but tell us a little bit about your career, how you started, and your business in Culver City. So we're thrilled to have Angela Anthony with us today, Director of Marketing and Communications with the Walter N. Marks Incorporated Company, Natasha Case, CEO of Cool House, and Candace Simmons, owner of All That and More Boutique. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. Let's start with Angela. Tell us a bit about your role and kind of your path to your career, and tell us about Wally Marks Company and Helms.
Sure. So a little bit of background on me is my education is English and communications. So, and I primarily my career has been spent in marketing with a little bit of a detour in retail and education. And my role here is basically to curate events and experiential marketing, corporate communications, things like that. And it really combines well with my love of art, architecture, and design. So they're really my personal passions. So Helms Bakery is the headquarters for our company. So it's only, we actually own and manage several properties around the city. And this is only one of them. So for those of you who know nothing about Helms, it's an actual, it's a landmark historic building built in 1931 when it was an actual working bakery. Paul Helms had this company that delivered baked goods, breads, treats throughout the community in Los Angeles. So Angelinos remember it very well, cream puffs and glazed donuts. It was a pretty famous bread. It was the first bread on the moon. It was the official bread of the 1932 Olympics. And same year my mom was born. Hi, Mom, if you're there. And basically on the ground level, on the street level, Helms is a collection of retail showrooms, furniture showrooms, specialty shops, independent businesses like Arcana Books. And the Marks family purchased it in the early 70s, and they just embarked on a loving restoration and reimagining of it and to what it is today. And that's on the street level, but what you don't see is tucked away up above in all the offices, and there are all these creative and nonprofit businesses. And that group of people is very curated because we believe that this sort of group of tenants collectively feed the artistic undercurrent on the campus. And that just creates this really rich collaborative environment. And, plus they're all a bunch of fun people. So we have a lot of fun here. It's
Great.
Kind of us in a nutshell.
No, it's a fantastic space, and appreciate everything that you do over there. You mentioned architecture, which makes me want to jump to Natasha, interestingly. Natasha, tell us about your background, and then ice cream, and then it makes me want to have some right now, quite honestly. So yeah, no, please tell us how you got to where you are right now.
Yes, so architecture and design is definitely a passion of mine as well, like with Angela. I studied it in school, and I became really intrigued with how to bring two of my passions together, which was design and food and eating. And I think I saw that there was just a lot of opportunity to explore the intersection, everything from packaging to the fact that we eat with our eyes and the whole experience and building memories and emotions around eating. There just seemed like endless kind of overlap. And I started to play with different concepts of what that could look like through school. And then after I finished my graduate degree, and I was working at Disney Imagineering actually when the recession hit. And as part of, to kind of lighten the mood around the office amidst all the layoffs, started baking cookies and making ice cream from scratch and naming the combinations after architects. And it really started as this like passionate hobby to just bring these punny and, you know, artisan, unique creations when I felt like it could just, you know, bring some joy into the world. And I think I thought of it more as like an art project until I met the other founder, Freya Streller, who's my now wife. And she really helped me see the business potential in what I was doing. And I think, you know, it was about that kind of the merging, you know, visions and skill sets. And that really allowed us to create Cool House, which was first a pioneering ice cream truck. And you know, reinventing, we didn't invent an ice cream truck, of course, but reinvented it, I think, for our generation and for what was 10 years ago, I think, a really big shift in the way that we eat and how much we value what we eat. And I think we just saw an opportunity specifically in ice cream, you know, when we were getting this ice cream truck, which, by the way, was $2,500 and did not drive and had no engine and was a POS to keep it, you know,
Wow.
Swear word free for this discussion, but very humble beginnings to it. But we just saw, you know, we didn't feel represented as women, as millennials, as gay women by the brands that we saw. And so we thought, let's create something that, you know, and Freya, you know, being a person of color as well, and definitely not feeling represented by the brands on the shelf. So we thought, like, let's, you know, create what we would want and the story that we would want to buy. And that's what we did. And starting with the truck, then became our flagship store, which is what, you know, why I'm here with Culver City. And we've had that since 2011. And absolutely love having our, you know, it's really our headquarters. We have the space next door. If you've driven by on Washington, there's a big women-owned sign, and we absolutely love being there. And we built an innovation center behind it as well, where we create new products and prototypes. And then we've really scaled the most in grocery. So we're, our number one account is Whole Foods, but Publix, Ralph's, Wegmans, around here, Bristol Farms, Gelson's, Amazon, kind of depending on where you are in the country, with our ice cream sandwiches, pints, and in both dairy and dairy-free now. Dairy-free is still a smaller segment, but is growing much faster than dairy. So that's very exciting for the lactose challenged, as I like to call it. And the non, I can eat dairy all day, but I love eating dairy-free products. So it's for everyone. And then we're working on cones. We have mini sandwiches we just launched, cups. So I head up innovation. We have a lot of great things going on there. And a lot of now kind of more social mission-based flavors as well. So for example, we developed a flavor for Pride, Enjoyment for All, it's called, and it's a dairy-free mint cookie marshmallow ice cream. And that's really supposed to tell the story of, you know, a LGBTQ founded brand. And when you buy that from our shop in Culver City, all of the proceeds go to the Okra Project, which delivers nutritious meals to Black trans folks all around the country. So that's also been a really exciting direction as far as our innovation is doing things that can give back more. So yeah, that's more or less, you know, how I started and where we are today.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. Especially because I noticed you started, like you said, with your truck, then you went to Coachella, I think. Was that kind of the blow up moment? And now you're everywhere. So that's great.
Yeah, it's grown quite a bit.
So Candance, also thinking like the transition from what I know kind of where you started and then shifted to your awesome store that I stopped by and said hello to you yesterday at. Tell us, you know, your background and then how long you've had your store in Culver City and how you got here.
Sure. So again, my name is Candance Simmons, and I am the owner, resident stylist of All That and More Boutique. And I grew up in Los Angeles, South Central LA. I've been here all my life and spent the last 20 years here in Culver City. However, my background it was nursing. My mom was a nurse, and so I graduated high school with my certified nurses certification to go into nursing. However, I quickly realized that, like my training, the CNAs were only allowed to work in convalescent home, and I really wanted to be around where life was being preserved, and I didn't really like what I was seeing there. And fortunately, 3 days before I graduated from high school, I had a job already lined up with the Capital Group. So I started there, which was literature distribution, mutual fund information, and really started there stuffing envelopes and worked my way to an assistant vice president position for their distribution center. And then transitioned and spent 9 years in their customer service call center. However, the entire time I was there, it was all about retail therapy. So as I managed associates, and I had a lot of women that I worked with, and I could always tell when they were going through something. So I'd say, let's go to the mall. Let's just cross the street. We were in Brea, in Orange County, right across the street from the Brea Mall. I'd say, let's go to the mall. And I'd go in and pick out things for them, or we'd just hang out in the food court and walk around, and I could see just how they changed. Going back to my mom was a nurse, and I watched her go into just even shopping from nursing uniforms and seeing her transition from 5 crazy kids driving her bananas to now she's twirling, coming out of a dressing room in her nursing uniform. So I was like, this is the happy place. So at 19, I said, I'm going to work for corporate America. And then at some point, I'm going to open up a store, because I love seeing the happy that shopping was giving women. And I just experienced it myself personally. So after working for 25 years in corporate America, and they had a huge layoff, and my position was eliminated, and I went home and I asked my husband, can I do what I really love? And he's like, what is that besides shopping? I said, no, that right there. I want to shop for the rest of my life. And he's like, are you going to make money? I said, yeah, definitely. I connected with a business partner. We opened up in Culver City, and we started together, and 2 years later I became sole owner. So it's been 10 years total that I've been in this space here at Culver City, and I really have enjoyed just assisting women and watching them transition, as they're going through life, going through situations where they have to show up and represent who they are and where they are, and helping them do that in great fashion and creating a space where they can just release and be.
That's great. No, it's your shop is so much fun to just check everything out, and you have numerous just kind of smaller or local entrepreneurs, I know, that you represent and bring into the store.
Yeah. One of the things that I know that I'm blessed to be a blessing. So when we opened the space, my goal was to help small businesses, local designers, or just designers in general, if they had a product or a service that would meet the needs of our clients, to help them and provide a platform for them to launch their products and their services. So we've done that with handbag designers, our kidpreneur who launched a buy free nail polish line. Her product started here. We were the first space. And also there's soaps and various jewelry designers, handbag designers, clothing designers that are local, where we give them the space to launch their products, to get product input, feedback from clients, live and personal. And we host a lot of events where you can actually come out and meet the designer, meet the creator of the various products.
No, that's wonderful that you support all, so many local entrepreneurs. So, so we can't continue the conversation without talking about the obvious. January, everything was kind of like we just talked about, hunky dory, and then everything hit. So, Natasha, jumping to you. We're calling this the road to recovery, but you have all been through so many ups and downs. I'm ashore based on various orders coming, going. There's a lot of swirling information out there. Tell us kind of how you've been impacted, if you would, and both, you know, good and bad, and how you've shifted and pivoted to try to, you know, deal with what we're still all going through here. So
yeah, no, and I think it's what you said. I think there's definitely many difficulties, but there's a lot of, you know, I think as an entrepreneur, you have to see the silver lining, you know, from a business perspective when there's such a big change like this. I like to think of it as, what I've really seen is a lot of kind of balls that are already in motion before this have just accelerated a ton. If you're talking about, in particular, you know, the like food and fast casual and how we get our food. You know, just speaking to the shop in Culver City, for example, you know, Postmates, Uber Eats, that was about 15% of our business before the pandemic. And now that is our only business. It is 100% of the sales we're doing from the shop. We've added a couple of the delivery services on there. And, you know, this month has been a little tricky to kind of keep this, just because we do expect a big bump in summer usually. But pretty much every month we've only been about 10-15% below the budget that we had planned, as though this had not happened. We've kind of tracked, you know, relatively close. I mean, that's not that far off, considering you're really not even open to the public. And we've structured it in a way where it's a more profitable business to run. You know, if I don't have, as difficult as it is, you know, we had to furlough a lot of our team, and I, you know, love my team, and it's a big part of our culture. But looking at the economics and the dynamic of running the business this way, where it's delivery only, you know, I have a couple of salaried people mainly who were overseeing that business now kind of in there fulfilling all these orders. And the bottom line, you know, the sales are a little off, but the bottom line is stronger. And I do think that was something that was already in play, as people not wanting to necessarily get their food, you know, getting more and more food delivered and having it in the convenience of their home was already growing. So now that's just, you know, taken off quite a bit. And I'm glad we established that foundation. And we have a product that packs up pretty easily. You know, we're not serving a 5-course meal, you know, which people are still, now there's all kind of services like Tock that deliver those, but ours was a pretty, you know, easy transition into delivery. And then we also work with Cloud Kitchens, which is basically like virtual shops. So if you went on Postmates and looked up Cool House, and which, you know, also in a delivery app, you don't pay for search engine optimization. It's just brand awareness within the app. So 4 Cool Houses would come up. 3 of those are our Cloud Kitchens. So those are shops where we just basically like own a space, you know, of kind of a warehouse in a virtual, you know, in a commercial kitchen. And it's a similar menu to what you get from our Scoop Shop in Culver City, but it allows us to be part of more communities and reach those people more easily that would be outside the delivery zone. And it's a pretty healthy economic model. And it's something we're gonna open Cloud Kitchens in Atlanta. And then we're looking at San Francisco, we're looking at New York. They're all starting to open around the country. It's a system being built by the founder of Uber. So again, that was something that was already kind of happening. And now I think it's taken off because it's a very, you know, socially distanced model, if you will. Mm-hmm. And, you know, grocery, it's amazing that before the pandemic, we were having 60% of our meals out and 40% you know, at home. It's just actually a kind of a wild amount to be eating out. And now it's like 80-90% is grocery and cooking at home. So, you know, being in grocery stores and having a good presence there has been really important to us in terms of, you know, the grocery business is keeping alive the fact that we can't really operate our trucks at all right now. That's a huge hit for us. That's $1 million loss for the year. And we make a lot more off the truck events. You know, that dollar goes farther for us than in a grocery store. It's a wholesale business and there's a lot of marketing involved. So we are ahead of budget actually, but then, you know, we're losing more money on the grocery business than we normally would be this time of year. And it's difficult to get, you know, to get money right now. It's not flowing around the way it was before the pandemic. So it's a lot of, there's pros and cons, but the way I think of it is really staying ahead of the curve. You know, like how can we create the truck experience that someone can order online and have a party delivered to their door. You know, people are still having graduation parties. Can we send them a kit that's, you know, a scoop cup that's like a graduation hat and a pint and a message to that person that's custom that says their name? Like, I think you have to really dig into your entrepreneurial roots and think, you know, what can I build that's special, and how can I see this moment as a way to grow my business, not just, you know, kind of recoil and wait for it all to end, because we don't know when that will happen at this point, and we have to absolutely make the best of what's there.
Yeah, no, I think what you're saying is spot on, and I appreciate hearing that from you. I'm sure Candace and Angela, and hearing from other people, it's an opportunity to just reinvent, kind of, right? So, Angela, in terms of what's happening at Helms, I mean, you have the events that you typically undertake and everything that you and Wally and Helms would do at the location, but then you have all these restaurants and shops, and some are open, some aren't. So it's sort of a two-prong approach for you maybe, but tell us how things have shifted.
Well, I think just sort of piggybacking off of what Natasha says, you know, we look at ourselves as a company of resilience, because we have to, and we're constantly nurturing relationships so that we can build trust, you know, and that's our relationship capital is where we draw right now, right? It's a bank account of trust with our tenants and our customers and our employees and all of that. And then during these difficult times, we can just draw on that account, and hopefully it gets us through, you know, the difficult times. But, you know, when the pandemic hit, like you said, you know, we went into crisis mode, you know, and all of it shifted around safety, which it should have. You know, everyone went into that mode. And I think, you know, we had communication with our tenants and constant communication. But the one thing that I think was different for us is Wally Marks, who is our president, asked us, okay, so what do we want to look like on the other side of the pandemic? What does our future look like? How do we get there? What's the roadmap, you know? And then we started all thinking like, okay, we're not looking at how do we get back to yesterday? It's a tomorrow mindset, right? So it's a different way of thinking about what you do. And then once we shifted, then we could immediately sort of set a plan in motion. So, you know, we did all of the things that everyone had to do, which we socially distanced. We worked from home. Wally was actually stuck in Hawaii for months. And so, you know, we were sort of without our leader in our city, but we scheduled 2 daily calls, one in the morning, one in the afternoon for our management team. We checked in every day. We scheduled staff check-ins to make sure our team, because we are an essential business, we have our own in-house construction and maintenance crews to maintain all of our properties. We have like 20 properties around the city. So we made sure that they were okay, their families were okay. Did they have enough PPE for the week? You know, all of that stuff. And then we called our tenants constantly. We checked in regularly to sort of keep that sense of calm and consistency, that we're still, you know, we're still here. We're still, you know, fighting the fight, doing what we need to do to help you, you know, to thank them for their support, because without our tenants functioning, we're not functioning, right? Our business suffers. So we did all of these things, and then we also very quickly recognized that our restaurants were going to be in deep trouble. So we looked at our campus, and for those of you who haven't been here, we have this pedestrian plaza that's sort of in the center of our campus, where all of our stores and restaurants feed into that pedestrian plaza. So we recognized we could at least put tables out there to help the restaurants with capacity, because there's no way if they couldn't have capacity could they survive. So we contacted city officials and said, here's what we want to do. How do we navigate this? What can we do? And we came up with a plan with the restaurants on where we would situate each one and how they would service those tables and sanitize. And, you know, I don't think that there's one size that fits all. I think that was sort of the big takeaway is, you know, ultimately you have to define what works for your business and your company, because the city and the county and the state are going to give you mandates and a framework, but you're the one who knows your customers and your team and your business the best. And so you're going to define and determine how you work within that framework. And you know, that's what we continue to do every day still.
Well, yeah, it's a daily, at any level, any size business company, it's a daily thing that you think about, right? And how do you handle it today?
Yeah.
And so Candace, I know we talked a little bit about, you know, you're very much about almost like your store's almost like an art gallery, right? With all the various entrepreneurs and representing them and the beautiful pieces that you select. So your presence has felt very much like the in-person store experience is primary. So tell us a bit how you've shifted in the past few months.
Well, it was interesting because, you know, going into 2020, we were so excited. I mean, there was so much to happen into 2019, and we had big plans to celebrate our 10-year anniversary and all these amazing things that 2020, clear vision for 2020, right? And so coming into it, knowing that, again, safety first, that we couldn't open our doors. We were shut down from March, April, and the latter part of May. I quickly had to shift and just find a way to continue to engage with my clients. I do a lot of events where we celebrate. We had Wind Down. We had a company called Manly Hands that would come in and do foot, neck, and shoulder massages. And all of those things are based on my target audience, which is 30 and up, women that want to touch and feel, and they're not ordering online. And fortunately, in 2019, I was in a program where my focus became my website. And that entire time I was really frustrated. Like, why am I focusing in on this website as a project when folks don't order on the website? They come in the store and it's an experience that they're looking for. They want an experience. It's not Amazon. They want to touch and feel the fabrics. And so fortunately, we had upgraded our website and everything. So when the pandemic hit, it became, now how do we go from bricks, folks coming in the door, to clicks, folks purchasing online? So I had to spend more time, you know, doing online presentations where I've already been on Facebook. We do a weekly fashion tip video, but now going a little bit more online, but also being sensitive to where people are. You know, are they really looking for clothing right now? In March, I did very little online communication outside of checking in to see how folks were, how you doing. We did weekly wind downs where you just came on if you were available, and we had conversations, just doing a check-in. Spoke very little about fashion on those calls. It was just a check-in. And then I started sharing, well, now that you're at home and you can spend a little more time in your closet, here's a service that I'd like to offer where you've done the keep it or let it go in store. Now we could actually go into your closet while you're home, and we could really get into your closet and decide whether you want to keep it or let it go. So offering those services and really identifying where could I be of service and where could we assist our clients right where they are. And then as I started hearing more feedback and we were able to open up the latter part of May and we had new arrivals, we've done things like clear the racks here in the store. We've shown new pieces, and my clients are now at a place where they're saying, hey, we want to see more fashion. We don't know what's in the store. Take us on virtual tours. And we also, during the time in which there were closures, we offered virtual shopping. So we would schedule an appointment. I could take you around the store, show you the pieces that were available. And one thing that Colin and I laugh about, because I said early on during the pandemic, everyone is making face masks, and I was not gonna get into the business of face masks, facial coverings. And I just felt early on that it was a very opportunistic thing that folks were doing, where everyone's making face masks, and face masks are being sold on the corner. But it wasn't until my client said to me, listen, face masks are not going away. And since they're not going away and we're going to be shopping with you, we want our face masks to match our outfits. I said, okay, now we're talking. So I was able to quickly go back to the designers that had already delivered product that was in the store and say, are you making face masks? And they were. I said, great, I need to order them for the pieces that you delivered. And we initially, if you bought an outfit, we gave you a complimentary face mask, and then we made them available. So things that we said we wouldn't do, like online purchasing, face coverings, we've had to shift and offer those things. And so now we're doing more virtually as folks are wanting to see what's in store. I'm going online, I'm doing live presentations showing them. I even did a virtual fashion show, and I was like, I don't want to do that, but I did it anyway because it was a part of the celebration. Folks loved it. So things that I was saying we would never do that because it's going to be an experience, finding how to shift and create those experiences virtually and meeting folks where they are because they do want to shop, they do want to support our business. So that's what we've had to do.
That's great. No, I think a lot of what you're all talking about lends itself to something I want to come back to in a few minutes, which is kind of taking what you're doing and looking ahead. But an important part of what has been happening in the past couple of months, and I am really curious to sort of hear how you're all interweaving, the moments that have occurred since May 25th and the shift worldwide, but certainly, nationally, and how we addressed issues that we should have been addressing a long time ago. So Natasha, you mentioned this when you said, and you have your social mission-based flavor, and that's a really interesting, cool thing, to offer. I'm curious to know from each of you kind of how you've processed this, what you have been thinking about in your companies, what you're doing maybe a little differently, anything you want to share with us. Go ahead, Natasha, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think you said it. It's, it's like a shift in awareness of something that's long overdue. And I think for, it's a moment when I think you can look at yourself as a leader and your brand and say, what is the best possible way that we can make change? And it takes doing it kind of, I think, within an organization, doing it as leaders, and then what can you do and how can you reach consumers and really share with them how important that work is, and aligning your creations, with that change and with that progress. So, for us, one of the things we do know how to do best is make ice cream. So how can we, take the product and, for us, like customization and doing unique flavors is really important. So, I mentioned enjoyment, but I'm really glad we have this innovation center now behind the Culver City flagship store, because there's also a couple of other organizations we've partnered with that, how can we create something special, and then what can we do with it? And so, what is that flavor then? What is the kind of mission that flavor takes on? So one thing, for example, is we have a kind of multi-level partnership with a company called Black Girl Ventures. I'm a huge fan of them. Their whole ethos is around getting more capital to Black and brown women founders. And if you look at the numbers of where money goes from investors, it's just so not okay. The ratio with which it goes to one group of people and not another. And everything about what they're doing is about changing that. And at Cool House, women leadership and entrepreneurship are really key in our, founding story. So we sort of found them as this is something where we can really, authentically align with these values that we've been building and speaking about to our audience. And so they're going to connect with it too. And they're going to, get behind it and make the investment. So one thing is I've just been leading webinars to their founders, sort of like an incubator program. But I'm really excited. We're creating 3 different flavors that are going to basically be part of one of their online pitch competitions. And the flavors will almost be like pitching themselves as different business ideas. And the way it works, it's almost like a live Kickstarter. So people can vote with their dollar. And then the winning flavor, that money will be then turned into a grant for, you know, a Black woman entrepreneur in Black Girl Ventures. And then we'll bring that into our shop and continue to have all the proceeds go to either that grant or another one for another founder. And, you know, I'm also hoping to work with some organizations that can help match that grant. So like, let's get real dollars and let's help, you know, make these businesses, you know, have more to work with. So that's, you know, one example. I've also been talking to Backstage Capital, which is also Black, female, and LGBTQ led fund. And some of the brands that they're invested in and how can Cool House, you know, source from these brands. And for example, you know, I connected with the founder of the fund, Arlen Hamilton, and said, you know, we want to make sure we're, you know, again, this is be something about integrating it into our business, sourcing from Black-owned businesses. So we're putting dollars directly into Black-owned companies. Do you have any companies that we could talk to that we could, you know, buy mix-ins and put into our ice creams? So that's, you know, about integrating that into our business model. And then within the company, I think just, you know, first just having like town halls and just really talking to the team and hearing different stories and different voices from, you know, Black members of the company, but anyone who wants to share, and just making sure it's a safe space for people to share how they feel. And then, you know, doing diversity training and making sure that we're continuing this as an ongoing process, because I don't think it's something that just magically is fixed, you know, in a day. It's a long-term commitment for change, and to really, for me to embrace that as a leader in every way. And I think it's such important work, and it's a huge, it's definitely something that we really value at the company.
No, that I love kind of the creativity of your product and what you do, and how that lends itself to this unique connection to these groups, and your kind of the I mean, that's such an innovative way to express, you know, your company's mission. So it's pretty cool. It gives me ice cream chills.
Love it.
And Candace, I mean, you're a Black woman who owns a small business successfully, but you know, I'm sure I'd love to hear your perspective, of course, because I'm sure there may have been moments, there were times where we weren't sure what was happening in Culver City through the weeks of protests, which were understandable. So yeah, I mean, please tell us your thoughts.
I mean, for me, it's something I've lived all my life. I've seen it, I've experienced it, and I was taught to see it and let it fuel you. You know, don't shy away from it, to see it, to challenge it, and let it fuel you. So when everything erupted in the midst of a pandemic, that was really hard because it's like, you know, you walk around experiencing something, and then to be in the middle of a pandemic, to be in the middle of just reopening your doors for business, and then to have to shut it down because of something you've experienced all your life. You just say, I'm moving forward. You know, it's like, what's the worst that could happen? You know, with all of the protesting that was taking place, it's like, I understand it. And as a business owner, you know, I needed to react to it. So we closed our doors and we prayed and we left. And the majority of the small businesses that are here are Black women. They're Black women that design various products and things of that nature. So our mission continues. It's very inclusive. My clientele is very diverse. But in the midst of the pandemic, it was hard having that just erupt in the midst of it all, because it's something, again, like I said, it has fueled me in my life. And I was taught that, you know, you're going to experience these things, but leverage them and win anyway. And so to be in business, to be here in Culver City as a Black woman, it's my mission to use those opportunities to discuss it, to right the wrongs in the platforms that I'm on and that I can impact, I can share light, I can give a different opinion. In corporate America, I remember the president of the Capital Group saying to a group of wholesalers and directors to say, you know, there's something wrong when everyone in this room looks the same. He says there's no diversity here. And until we are more inclusive and we respect and try and understand differences, we will limp along as a company. And so when things are really brought to the forefront and you have to deal with them, I do. I deal with them. And I always look for opportunities where women can win, when Black women win, because I know the challenges that we've had to face to get here. I just get a little more excited because it wasn't just a typical win. It was a win that was faced with challenges. So May 25th, I won't say was an everyday occurrence, but it was a light shining bright to the things that I faced all my life. And it was just, I felt like I was being choked at the moment, but I knew at some point the air was going to come through because all we could do was respond to it and know that, you know, if you breathe and you can live for tomorrow, things will get better because you're in a position to make it better. So.
No, thank you. And I know that knowing what I know of you and what you are, like, you inspire many like you or is trying to be, you know, grow their business. I know you inspire many to follow in your footsteps. So thank you for all that. Angela, I'm curious to know, because you do have this, you have a large company, Wally's company. Like you said, you have people working in construction, you have your tenants, you have a very broad range of companies and staff that you're dealing with, or not dealing, sorry, I didn't mean it that way, that are part of your company. So tell us, kind of curious to know your thoughts about it.
So it's, we're actually a very small company. There's only 22 of us in the entire company. And I would say we're pretty diverse. Most of our construction and maintenance team is diverse. And, you know, not that that changes the work that we still have to do, because we all still need to do a lot of work. I think that personally, you know, the anger and the tears that, you know, we all experienced after that day, on that day, after that day, just kind of brought, like Candace says, to light and to focus on our own personal social responsibility and what can we do and how can we rewrite things and make change. And, you know, I'm fortunate to work here because the Marks family has really championed for decades in Los Angeles. Wally is third generation here, around social justice and equity. And so they've been doing this work a long, long time. And I think that my professional goal is just to continue that mission and that vision and supporting the organizations that we've supported all along, not just since this happened. You know, we will host panel discussions. We will partner with organizations like SoCal NOMA, which is the organization for minority architects, where they teach you know, inner city kids to love architecture and learn about architecture. And you know, AWA+D, which is the women in architecture, we sponsored a scholarship, which was just actually awarded last night. And you know, so there are things that we can do, like opening our home and to panel discussions or art exhibitions that are very diverse and talk to these topics, because no matter what, it's about providing the safe opportunity and environment for those difficult conversations to happen. And then ultimately, I think that we'll see change if there's enough of us out there having these talks and doing things.
No, there's, I mean, you all, it's interesting because obviously we're all based here, but you all represent, you know, like Natasha, you're global, Candance, you're touching social and tactile in-house experiences, and Angela, you have this broad range of tenants. It's just interesting. There's sort of a commonality here. Everybody is reinventing. It feels like this is an opportunity in a strange way with everything we've talked about for you all to kind of come up with this new plan B, which really was kind of strangely exciting, if I dare say that in a way.
Yes.
So I want to be mindful of time. I know like there's all sorts of great stuff to talk about. We have a few questions that have been shared with us. I know one of them is, Angela, for you, one of our our participants is asking who came up with the idea of doing kind of a changed out art display in the window.
Yeah.
I guess a little bit about how that works, because that's
Well, we so like you said, Kristen, we used to host events here all the time. It was part of our marketing strategy. We would I curate the calendar of events, and we would host 8 to 12 events a month. So once the pandemic hit, our connection, so in-person events stopped, right? And our connection with the community was completely severed. You know, our retailers were closed, our restaurants were closed, our events were done. So I designed this program in partnership with the Culver City Arts Foundation. It's called Projecting Possibilities. And, you know, because one of our missions is to help artists in general, it's a grant program, and it's 52 weeks, one artist a week, so that we can touch as many artists as we possibly can. And we have the capability in the Helms Design Center to project out images or film or poetry or whatever it is the artist medium is onto the glass entrance of the design center out to the street for street side viewing. So it's sort of this weird hybrid between online viewing and in-gallery viewing, but it keeps us connected to the community in a way. It lets us support artists. We launched it with Alexi Steele, who's the Culver City Artist Laureate. And, you know, we knew this was going to be a long fight, and we wanted to do something that could sustain artists in a meaningful way. And, you know, we learned a lot of new skills during this pandemic. So, you know, there's more to come. We've got more.
No, that's great. I love the tie into the city, but it's like such a cool, fun experience for everybody.
Yeah, it's really.
I think the question that's kind of similar but related, just are there any other, are you incorporating, I mean, because this is a very cool, very public project. Are there any other like art, like public art viewings or any other events that you're able to kind of pull together right now? Or
Yeah, we're talking to a bunch of different people. I think we're going to try to create an interactive Helms Bakery tour where you can sort of use your phone, like think about Pokemon Go, right? But you would get some little bakery bites along the way. And we're also we're working with a poster company where they basically do this call for artists to design these posters around a theme, and it's about, you know, sustaining the earth and sustainability. And we'll probably look to hang the submissions along Helms Avenue up above, you know, so we'll come up with, we've got a lot of good ideas.
I'm sure. Well, when Wally was in Hawaii, he had time to think about these things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to be mindful of I mean, this is truly appreciate everybody kind of just opening up and sharing about your company and your personal experiences. I think we're down to 5 minutes Would love to just have each of you have a chance to kind of share what you're looking at, how you're kind of projecting ahead to the unknown. Many on this, joining us today are in similar situations, and you've all really, I think I'm said it already, but I'm really impressed by just how you've all quickly pivoted, shifted, and kind of embraced the changes that you've incorporated. So, Natasha, looking ahead to like the dark chasm of who knows what's coming next. Is there anything else that you might want to share with us? You're thinking about?
Yeah, well, I think we'll continue to lead into this delivery component as far as like our own retail delivery and, expanding the Cloud Kitchen footprint around the country. And I feel like that's a really exciting way to build awareness at grocery stores where, we're not the local brand. We can feel like the local brand, and we can send the cool flavors, the unique flavors, the flavors with those kind of bigger missions. And the other thing, I think, like I mentioned, bringing events online and bringing partnerships online, like, something we had been doing a lot of was these like brand activations where they customize a flavor and wrap our trucks, and we hand out this special ice cream. Like last summer, we had a really fun one with French's mustard, and we actually made a mustard ice cream. And it sounds insane and kind of gross, but it was weirdly addictive, and like you couldn't stop taking bites of it. And if you watch a video of someone eating it, like their brain doesn't know what to do. So
I'm a mustard fan.
So we had a what's that?
I said, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I'm a major mustard fan.
Oh, okay. This is for you. You would like this. I'll send you the recipes. And a hot dog.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So, but we have now a big partner that's like, they want us to do that, but through our, Postmates and online. And so bringing that business online. And then, I think for grocery, how can we innovate in the way that's, I think, the most productive for our grocery partners? Maybe leaning into more of this serving size control, because people are eating at home, and it's maybe, we can help people control themselves with these things. And like leaning into like, I think there's a lot around comfort foods and flavors that are just, the nostalgic in that way. So maybe that inspires our innovation. So I think, looking at all of those things. And it's interesting too, the last thing I'll say is just the way that people are shopping differently. Like a lot of kind of more specialty stores have been hard hit. A lot of people now are shopping at the bigger retailers. But I think that if you can survive at the higher end stores or the specialty stores or the more neighborhood stores and really partner with them, they may start to sell less brands, but more of the brands they have. So that's something I think that's going to be really important. I think there's going to be a shift in how we shop from grocery stores. And it's really important that we're working as directly as possible with them as partners to make sure that everything is super aligned. So, they say they want a cone, we'll make them a cone, whatever it may be. So that's really how we're looking at, this next chapter.
We will go to grocery stores and look at in a couple of weeks or a month, we'll see what you have out there.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, I like that.
Candace, are we going to see some more virtual, I don't know, runway shows or wine outs or yeah.
I think what you'll see more of is definitely more virtual, and I think this is across the board with all retailers. As I was sharing with you yesterday, every quarter we would go to the mart and we would shop for 2 seasons ahead. And so what I'm finding, as Natasha mentioned, it's the relationships. A lot of the brands that I've shopped with in the past, some of them aren't coming back. So that means I'll have less brands, but I'll be going deeper in those brands and offering more from a particular brand with fewer brands, but definitely more virtual experiences and really just meeting clients and vendors and designers exactly where they are and being more present. Like for right now, it would be white linen season. There aren't a lot of white parties going on. So knowing that where people are right now, where it's comfort, it's Zooming, and it's really more lounge wear, And as we transition into fall, it'll probably be more cozy. And where we had more holiday pieces coming in, we probably taper down from that and go into more cozy pieces. And just being able to shift as we see things taking place. So definitely more online, not buying as much, buying fewer pieces, but offering them in a way in which folks feel very, their needs are met. We understand them. We're not pushing things that they're just not interested in right now or that they have a need for. So staying present with where our clients' needs are.
That's great. No, I think the responsiveness to what, right? Because right now, it's very possible I'm wearing leggings right now, and you guys wouldn't know that.
We have plenty of leggings.
And Angela, I know, sorry, we're down to the wire here, but
Okay, I'll be really quick.
yeah,
So 2021, when we come back and we can be in person, that will mark Helms Bakery's 90th birthday. So we'll be ready for a big party.
great.
Yes.
Very cool. All right. We will all look forward to that day. We'll go shopping at Candance's store first. We have things to wear.
Up down the street to Cool House.
We'll get ice cream that has liquor in it. Yeah.
There you go. Ooh.
Extra strong that day.
Yes.
I'm sensing a new flavor is developing here. So
I
thank you everybody for joining
you.
us today. We really appreciate it. This was a great, just appreciate the in-depth discussion that we all had. And anyone who is interested maybe in contacting any of you or wanting some more information can always contact the chamber, and then we can, funnel information to you. So thank you all very much.
Can I say one thing? I just want to encourage people to support local small businesses, whether it's online or whether it's in person, because they really make up the fabric of our community, and it's so important. So please do that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thanks so much, everybody.
Bye, ladies.
Bye.